What's up, fam? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Loriello, and today I'm so stoked to bring you guys an episode with Mr. Alex King, the Pacific Northwest-based sub-ultra athlete. Joins us on the podcast to tell his story. It was a great conversation. It was really candid. We talked about a lot of different aspects of Alex's career over the years. We got pretty deep into his Achilles injury. We talked about the goal and the push and the drive and the want to become a professional athlete in the sport and kind of where that's put him in his journey now. And then most importantly, we dove into his new venture, which is the brand he launched this year called Terignōta. It's a really just a very dope brand, very aesthetically pleasing, simple, yet significant. Basically the kit. Alex figured out a way to produce the kit at a very affordable cost. And it's interesting, and it's comfortable, and it's taking the trail world by storm. You probably most recently saw Brett Hornig wearing a pair of Terignōta shorts at the Black Canyon 50K. So they're starting to get a little popularity to them, which I love seeing. Alex is an amazing human, super kind, interesting, introspective guy. He has a lot of different thoughts on a lot of different topics, and I just really appreciated his perspective on the sport. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. None other than Mr. Alex King, the founder of Terignōta.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
People, Earth, listen up. The Steep Stuff Podcast is brought to you by Ultimate Direction USA. I am so excited to be partnering with Ultimate Direction in 2025 as the official hydration solutions partner for the Steep Stuff Podcast. Lots of fun things coming down the pike for this year. Ultimate Direction is going to be unveiling a brand new race and ultra vest that's going to be dropping in the next couple of months. So excited to bring that to you guys. If you are in the market right now for apparel, for a belt, for a new pack, anything hydration solutions related, flasks, you name it, they've got it. They've got you covered. If you hop on to ultimatedirection.com and use code STEEPSTUFFPOD, that's one word, STEEP, STEEP, STUFF, STUFF, POD. If you hop onto ultimatedirection.com and use that code, that's going to get you 25% off your cart. Especially that we're starting to wind our way a little bit more closer to spring. You guys are going to be start to put together your race calendars, and Ultimate Direction's going to have you guys covered. So whatever you need, they've got you outfitted from head almost to toe. They don't do shoes yet. So guys, enjoy yourself. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much, and check out Ultimate Direction. Alex King, welcome to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Dude, well, happy Monday, man. How's your day going so far?
Yeah, it's going well. Just dealing with some customer service stuff and getting some packages shipped out. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, listen, obviously, this is a sub-ultra podcast. You kind of mix it up between the ultra and the sub-ultra scene. Obviously, there's some great conversation there, but one of the main things that I was so excited to chat with you about is you launched this brand called Terignōta, and I thought it had beautiful branding, great messaging, and just really stellar products from what I can see. So I'll let you take it away from there to maybe introduce yourself, talk a little bit about that, and go from there.
Yeah. My name's Alex King, as you mentioned, and in November, I launched a brand called Terignōta. It's a trail running brand aimed at making trail running accessible to everyone and just reducing the entry price to trail running. Well, and high performance trail running also, because yeah, you can grab a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and at Walmart and go run, but to pursue a higher level and honestly just get more enjoyment out of the sport, yeah, it's nice to have nice gear, and nice gear is expensive. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to start Terignōta to bridge that gap.
Yeah, no, dude, so on the website there was something, your story is something I really connected with, where, and you could tell the story of like what got you thinking about it, because I thought that was just something a lot of people can resonate with.
Yeah, I guess it kind of goes back to like, I don't know, 5 years ago when I started pursuing running, like more, I mean, I've never been like a full-time athlete, but when I started pursuing running in more of a professional capacity, and putting more effort and time and money and resources into it, yeah, I just realized like, or for the past 5-ish years, I've been committing a lot of my life and a lot of my finances and time to running, um, thinking that at some point it would pay off and like, I could get sponsored, or at some point, I would get paid to run or whatever. But that never panned out. I always felt like I was, on the brink of making it in trail running theoretically, whatever that means. Um, yeah, and I had a few setbacks, as you mentioned earlier, or maybe we were offline, but had a few setbacks along the way. One of them being rupturing my Achilles, which we can talk about later.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But yeah, just like throughout the whole process of like giving my whole self to trail running, I just felt like I was like so much. Trail running is supposed to be this simple, like quote unquote free sport, but so much of my finances were going to trail running, whether it's racing or buying apparel or travel or gels or whatever. And yeah, so, and I also knew the other side of it, like knew the business side of it. I had worked for a kiteboarding company in Maui for a year and a half, and I did a lot of the design and also sourcing from Chinese manufacturers. And so I like knew the back end of it and like what people were actually paying, what businesses were actually paying for the apparel and then what they were selling them for. And I like knew there was a huge mismatch there, and knew it could be done cheaper. And I also just like I just love, yeah, getting things made and solving problems in that way. So yeah, I mean, there's so many factors that like amounted to me starting Terignōta. It's hard to like put them all into one bundle, but yeah, just my like, yeah.
No, it's beautiful. Listen, and the story on the website, and I'll direct listeners to the website in the show notes. But it was like, what did you say? You were in Boulder. You sell a pair of like $50. You wasted $50 on a pair of socks.
Yeah. I mean, so like the story on the website, it's a true story. But it's not the only story the only factor that led me to Terignōta. Obviously, it was like a catalyst for it. Yeah. So the story on the website, it's like, yeah, I was in Boulder. I was staying with a friend there doing a training camp. And I needed some new socks. And so I went into the, I don't know what running store it was. But yeah, went in, walked out with 2 new pairs of socks, $50 later. And I was like, $50 for 2 pairs of socks that are like fine. They work, but they're going to wear out super quick. And it just seemed crazy. And at that point I was like, it just sounded like a fun challenge to try to get like, see if I could get a sock made for cheaper and like, just do it for myself. Cause I was tired of paying, $25 for a pair of socks or whatever. So that was like the initial little catalyst of Terignōta, as it is now. Obviously it's expanded from socks, but the challenge of just like seeing how hard it would be to like find a manufacturer, design. I didn't know anything about socks. Design a sock, um, uh, and go through that process. And yeah, it just sounded like a fun challenge to me, and something that I wanted to do for myself. So, yeah.
Dude, I mean, to piggyback off that, I just think that there's such a space. Like, I just want to make a few points here. The first one is like this is the greatest sport on earth, and the reason I'll say it is because it's not like in the NBA or any like large, like significant, like large professional scenes where like we could just create a brand without a couple $1 million of funding, right? You could just it's easier to go be able to do something like that in trail running, which is amazing. Second point I'll make is like with all of the money coming into the sport and these like gigantic corporate brands. Like, dude, I'll give you a great example. The other day, I saw Satisfy launched like a new belt. I'm working with one of my sponsors right now, Ultimate Direction, and we're designing the future of what their belts are going to look like. Right. So I popped onto their website and I'm looking at it, and I was like, it's like $100 or something like that. I was like, maybe I'll just order it just to, that way I've got like a sweet little sub ultra belt, and I can kind of see the ins and outs and send this to our designer and see what we can do with it. Just checking it out. And it's like, dude, you got to pay $100 and something for the belt, which is probably definitely not worth it. And then on top of that, $20 in shipping flat rate, unless it's like over like 250. Like, who the hell is buying this stuff? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, just the mention of Satisfy gets my blood pressure going. So, yeah, and like they paid, I don't know, $10. $5. I honestly am not familiar with Satisfy's belt, but they paid $5 or $10 to get that thing made.
Oh yeah,
and, yeah.
It's crazy. Like their profit margins have to be the highest, and this is nothing against them.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
People buy it. That's fine. If you want to buy it, go more power to you. But like, I can't imagine that. Like, first of all, it's not everybody in the space, and second of all, it's like they have to be the most profitable company in the game. There's no way they're not. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm curious how much they spend on just random marketing things, though. Like, they're for sure they for sure have the highest profit margins, but yeah, they're just like, I mean, I think marketing in general there's so many things that are not productive with it. Like, I don't know. I was at Black Canyon 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, and Satisfy had like sponsored an aid station there, and they had these stickers that were very ugly, just like random stickers laying around there everywhere that were like, yeah, I don't know who would ever want one of those stickers, but it just made me think of like Satisfy had to buy these stickers, like, I don't know how, like, I don't know, 50 cents a sticker or whatever, and they had thousands of them. But like that meant that like money comes from somewhere. Like that money comes from people buying this short, and they have to just charge more for the short. And the same thing goes like at another aid station. Hoka was just like handing out a bazillion free like fanny pack things, which I guess that's cool to get a free fanny pack, but also like everybody has to then pay for it. Like they're not actually free. Everybody's paying for it through the gear and like through, yeah. And it's fine. I don't know. I just think like there's so many parts of marketing that do nothing other than make the gear more expensive. Like, yeah.
That's an interesting take, and it's so correct, man. I mean, and like you have to, I mean, you're thinking about it too from, I guess, more from the brand marketing side where they're trying to tell the story of, or whatever story they're trying to tell, but it's not even like more storytelling. It's more so just wasteful spending where.
Yeah, the storytelling is great. Like if you see a high production value YouTube story on somebody, on some athlete or whatever, like I love that shit. Like it's entertaining. It like brings inspiration to me, brings value. But yeah, just like these like little frill marketing things of, yeah, handing out free bandanas or fanny packs or stickers or whatever that people are like psyched on because they're free, but are never actually going to use. Uh, and you still have to pay for them. And I think that also goes like, I mean, this is like a different discussion point, but like in the same vein of marketing just leading to higher prices is like so much of marketing goes outside of the sport of trail running. Like when you buy Meta ads or Google ads or whatever, like that when a company buys Meta ads or Google ads, they have to pay for those ads. And those ad payments come out of just making the product more expensive. Um, and then that like all that money goes to Meta or Google, who doesn't care about trail running and like it doesn't stay in the sport. And I just think there's like so many aspects of marketing that have become like a status quo of how you're supposed to do business, but that don't do anything to provide value to like the customer or honestly to the business, because they're just like, sure, they might make more money by selling more shorts via these ads, but they also have to spend money to, yeah, buy the ads or whatever, or do these marketing things, whether it's giving away free stuff or whatever it is. Yeah.
So I'm going to put this one back on you because I'm very interested in to hear the way you think, because one of the things I thought was very interesting so far from a brand perspective with Terignōta is you tell a really solid story, and like the website is aesthetically pleasing. It's simple. It displays the products in a very simple way, tells the story. And then on top of that, your Instagram story or your Instagram, like you have this like really awesome reel of just like, hey, I don't want to live, or what is it? I don't want to live in this trailer or something like that. Like, I just want to make this simple. I don't want shit to be too expensive. Like, check out Terignōta. Like, I mean, I guess that's the cliff notes of it.
Yeah.
But I just would be curious to see like, what is marketing to you to Terignōta? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, like all those things are just my life. Like it's not, I mean, yeah, it's marketing because it's like, you know, I am trying to tell the story of Terignōta and why it exists and why I think it is a valuable business to exist in the trail running space. But it's like the truth. Like,
Yeah.
I have, I like going back to what I said before, like I've spent so much money on trail running, like, and I don't want to sound like I am like this, like it's all been my own decision. Like I love trail running and I'm like happy to spend money on it. But, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's true. Like I could have, I just spent, I don't know, $400 at the feed or whatever. And that could have paid for half a month's of rent in like a real house, which would be nice at some point to live in. And like the simplicity of the website comes from me just, you know, like I just made that website by myself. I can't put, I'm not a website designer. I don't know how to do the cool, complex things or whatever. Like, but like it just, it, it just, it's like there out of necessity. And, yeah.
I love it. I think it's authentic, dude. I mean, it's 100% you, it seems like, and it's just very, very straightforward, very to the point, very authentic. It's nothing fancy. Like, dude, I had, I'm sure you know who Kyle Siegel is, who's the founder of Raid Research.
Yeah.
Like he paid some guy in India like $5,000 to like do his website for him, which he said on the podcast. So it's not like it's, you know, it's like, but like paid some guy in India to do his fancy website for him. And it's like, yeah, it's really cool. But like the sweat equity into just doing it, building it yourself and like having your own thing behind it is, you know, just as noble, and it tells just as noble of a story.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, honestly, paying $5,000 for websites like quite cheap.
Yeah.
In like the big scheme of things. But yeah, I totally agree. And I think like, I hope that, sure, I'm going to have to do some marketing at some point and like keep making Instagram reels or whatever, but I hope that the product is good enough and like brings enough value in a sense to sell itself. Like why, if you make a good product, you shouldn't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars just to sell that product. So yeah, I hope that like people are psyched on it. People tell their friends about it, and just like, yeah, $29 for a pair of shorts, like,
Yeah, $22 for a t-shirt. Like,
yeah,
tell me where you could, like, for a high quality running t-shirt. Like, dude, that's impossible to find. Like,
yeah.
I love it. What was that like having, especially with your background? I know you had said you'd worked for a brand in the past. From a sourcing perspective, I've talked to a lot of founders in one space or another, and they always tell like a really interesting story about the supply chain and finding the sourcing. Is it just like reaching out to like a supplier in China to be able to build, like make it for you, and then like giving them design? Is it like that simple, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it is pretty simple. People think it's like, yeah, it's quite simple. I did, yeah, I worked for Nash Kiteboarding, and I did spend quite a bit of time in China, in Shenzhen, working like at not, yeah, just at the factories, getting things into production and thing. And so I learned like, I don't know, just the language you have to use. Like, I don't speak Chinese, obviously, but I learned like the language and communication style you have to use to communicate clearly with them. And I think that's like the biggest hurdle, is just like learning how to get your message across clearly with the language barrier. Because I mean, all the factories that you work with have someone who speaks English okay. But just okay. Like, there's still so much that's lost in translation. And so if you're not like super dialed on what you want, how you want it made, and like provide just the right amount of information to them, and also are just like really patient with them, um, yeah, then it's hard. But yeah, for Terignōta specifically, like, yeah, I just reached out to like 20 factories and like got a ton of samples sent to me, and just like looked over the samples, saw what the build quality was like. And another way I like judge suppliers is by their communication skills, because if I like can't communicate with somebody quickly and clearly, like, there's not, even if they make good product, there's no point in pursuing that. So yeah, it's super simple. If you want something made in China, you can get it made in China, and it's so fun, honestly. Like, just the possibilities that exist there are insane. Like, I think there's a bad rap that gets thrown around about made in China, and like, sure, there's like tons of junk that's made in China that we don't need, but it doesn't matter that it's made in China. It's just junk anyway. So like, yeah, there's tons of junk that we don't need generally, but yeah, I love working with suppliers and manufacturers in China. It seems like the world is your oyster, and you can like literally do whatever you want, and like have an idea and get it made, get a sample of it so fast.
So you had the idea to start this for a while. I'm curious to see when you were like, okay, you decided, all right, I'm 100% going to do this. And what was that process like, from deciding one morning or whenever you decided I'm going to do this, to where we're at right now? How long has that been? And like, how difficult was that process for you?
Yeah. I mean, where do I start with this one? I have been like having this idea in my head of like making an outdoor brand for years and years. But it's just never, yeah, we all have tons of ideas, and they just never happen. And then when so the story of the sock was, I don't know, in like early summer of 2024. And that's when I started like reaching out to factories, getting samples of the socks, and just like seeing if it was possible just like playing around really. And like, because I wanted a cheap, fun sock, and I love designing things. So I was, just having a good time doing that. And then then I ran CCC in Chamonix in like August of 20 at the end of August of 2024. Um, and while I was in Chamonix for a couple weeks before the race, I like had a bunch of downtime because you're like tapering and it honestly kind of sucks to be in Chamonix when you're tapering. But I filled my time with making a website. Just like I still like wasn't like totally in on like launching this thing, but I was just like, well, I'll make a website, see, I don't know, just see what it just go a little farther. Um, and I like had the name from a previous project that I did getting like I got this bike that I sourced in China and anyway, I had a name from that. And so my race, my CCC didn't go super well. And after the race, I was sitting down with Ryan Thrower at a bar, and we were having a beer. Honestly, I didn't know
It's a good
Ryan
person to have a beer with.
Yeah, I like didn't know Ryan super well, but I don't know, he's just like a guy that you feel like you can share things with, I guess. And yeah, I don't think he knows this, but he was the first person that I like told the idea of Terignōta to that was not like a really close friend or family or whatever. And yeah, he was just like asking me what was I don't even know what he asked me. He's just like asking me what was getting me excited or what was I working on these days. Um, and I like sheepishly told him about my Terignōta idea, and he was like so psyched on it and so supportive and just like, dude, you got to do that. And yeah, that was like kind of the moment I was like, Ryan Thrower thinks this is a good idea. Like, fuck it. Like, I should just, yeah, let's do it. And yeah, and it was after a bad race at CCC where I was like, well, my hopes and dreams of like being this professional sponsored athlete who gets paid money to do this is like not going anywhere, and it hasn't been going anywhere for a long time. And yeah, it's just like, well, what do I have to lose? Let's give it a shot.
Dude, I love that idea. It's so crazy that like Ryan Thrower is so intricate to this thing. Like that's crazy because and for people that don't know, like Ryan Thrower is the co-founder of Free Trail with Dylan, and look at what they've been able to build, which has been crazy. So yeah, if he thinks it's a good idea, it's a good idea, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, it was like just like the having the conversation with like somebody, like just talking about it openly with somebody who was like in the trail running world, and also was just like so supportive and like psyched. And yeah, it was like it was like the bump I needed to get going and like really go for it.
Where did the name come from? I know you kind of just mentioned something with a bike in China.
Yeah. Well, so when I was recovering from my Achilles injury, I like got super into biking and gravel biking specifically. And I had like a entry level canyon gravel bike. But I wanted something better, lighter, faster. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing as like what Terignōta is now. I wanted a bike that could perform better. I wanted a carbon bike and all the things, electronic shifting, everything, but I didn't want to spend 10 grand on that. So I reached out to a couple suppliers in China and actually got anyway, I got two different bikes. I like put together two different bikes and got some sweet carbon wheels and everything. But I needed like, I wanted to put a name on the bike. Like I wanted to like look like a real bike, not just like some black carbon frame. So, and also I was having a conversation with my friend Nick Benzer, who had also done the same thing, getting a carbon frame sourced in China, and he was like, "Yeah, it was sick, but then I could never sell the bike because nobody wants like a no-name bike made in China because they're like, questioning the quality of it." And so I was like, well, what if I just like made up a cool name and like put it on the frame so people thought it was like a cool bike? So I was like, so I made up a name called Terignōta and like put it on the uh yeah,
That's crazy.
sent it to the factory and put it on there. And yeah, Terignōta, it comes from I had this like whole list brainstorming names, and Terignōta comes from the I'm not a pro in Latin, but Terignōta comes from the Latin words terra and ignota, which means land unknown. And I just smushed them together, and that's how the name came about. I thought it was also like kind of fitting, Terignōta meaning land unknown, as I was like like in an unknown place for myself at the time, coming back from like this big injury and unsure if I was like gonna be able to run again, and my life had been like blown up in a way, and so I was in a very unknown space. So it fit at the time, and then I didn't want to think up another name, so I just used that for this.
Dude, I can't. I think just the creativity coming up with the name alone, it's bananas. Like, that's really good. Like, you think like, oh, look, like a mountain name or something like that. You brainstorm a million times. I would have never gotten that in a million years. Like, that's creative. Could you talk a little bit about, because I've heard rumblings of like some of the creative things that you've done. Was it woodworking or something like that? Like, you have a strong background in creativity, correct?
Yeah. So, before I started this, the last 3 or 4 years, I had a business called Roostworks, which, yeah, I built tiny homes for people and did a bunch of fine woodworking, and also um, made some race medals for people, or for races, I guess, mostly schema races. Yeah, so I like just I grew up just loving to build things. I've always just didn't really matter what it was, but I like grew up building go-karts and dune buggies and stuff. And just working on engines. So I've always loved to like, yeah, tinker and build. And so yeah, after I left Nash kiteboarding, I started this company, Roostworks, which was also just a one-man show in an old cow barn in Trout Lake, Washington, where I lived before, building tiny homes and screwing around with wood. So yeah,
That's great. Well, it's very obvious, both through conversation and both, like I said, website and a lot of the, like, even in the design of the apparel that you have, like, it's, not to quote Don Draper, but it's simple yet significant, right? Like, I love that. So you could see like the creativity from you kind of come through in that, which is very unique. What do you think about managing a business like this? Because obviously it's different than a woodworking business or other types of businesses. Do you like it? I mean, like, you could be candid. You could tell me what you think so far. I'm just curious to see what it's like to start something like that. Because I could tell you from like a podcast perspective, like, that's a difficult business to do. And just like what you're doing, that is not an easy business to do.
yeah. I mean, I love it. Yeah, of course, it's like very stressful and overwhelming at times, but uh, it just feels like a super fun puzzle to put together. And like, obviously, I love the designing gear part of it, and like getting to make apparel and then like go run in it myself, and like that's super cool and very fulfilling. Um, but like in the reality of it, that's like such a small part of it. You know, uh, a lot of it is like, or a lot of the things that are stressing me out right now are like figuring out how to finance inventory that, like, I have to pay for now that will be here in 3 months, which I can start selling then, that uh yeah, that I won't like recoup the costs of for like probably 6 months. Um, yeah, and I mean, obviously I don't have a ton of money. Um, so I mean, that's like stressful, but also like a fun, yeah, puzzle to figure out. Like, I mean, right now my solution to that is like get a bunch of new credit cards that have like 0% introductory APRs until sometime in 2026 and like just hope that I'll have the money by then. Um,
Get some good points out of
yeah,
it.
yeah. Another thing is like sizing the clothes has been like a bane of my existence recently, and like I know that a lot of people who have ordered know that too, obviously, because I've been dealing with a ton of yeah, just exchanges and like uh specifically with like the women's shorts, like yeah, I screwed up sizing on those. And so yeah, just uh that's been super stressful, but also a fun, yeah, thing to figure out and improve on for the next batch. Getting like shipping and fulfillment like dialed in and making the process of that smooth is like it's all just like these little challenges of in different subjects that are like fun projects to like figure out. And um it I think also part of it is like it's just me right now. Like I don't have anybody working with me, so it it still doesn't feel like super official. I mean, I know it's like I've sold a lot of stuff and spending a lot of money and like I have like everything into it, but it still just feels like a fun puzzle to figure out. So while there's been like, yeah, obviously very stressful and overwhelming moments, I think overall I'm loving it. And I also just want to say there like with the sizing thing specifically, I had like a mental breakdown when the shorts came in and I like realized they were smaller than I had specified with the factory, but and I was like, oh my God, this is over. Like I just wasted all this money. Everybody's gonna yell at me. Um, whatever, like, yeah, just like had all the bad thoughts. But I was like, well, I guess I'll just like sh keep on going and see what happens, ship them out. And um, yeah, and just like having that thought of like all the bad things and then the reality of it is like everybody is so like patient and understanding and like realizes like I'm trying to do something that I think is cool and I hope they think are cool too. And so they've like given me so much leeway and like obviously I've yeah made it right with every one of them, either exchanging shorts or whatever. But um like instead of people yelling at me, it's actually like I just get to have like a fun conversation with like 200 people on the internet like who are psyched on what I'm trying to do with Terignōta, and it's like it's pretty cool. So
Dude, I love it. And the best thing about it for me to hear is that, like, yes, it's challenging. Yes, there are really hard times, but like you're basically getting an MBA just by like figuring shit out. Like that's basically all the important aspects of getting the MBA. Like that's what you're doing right now. And like
yeah,
learning how to run a business and learning how to deal with customers and all of these issues. And like you're staying the course. Like the beautiful thing that I hear is like you're staying the course because it will work because it has to, and that's the way it'll be. You know, it's like one of those
yeah,
things. Yeah, I love to hear that you're having fun with it, and like,
yeah,
oh man, and like like, and it's like I don't know. One of the things I love to hear so much too is like you're gonna have these like extreme downs, and then like when you hit these big ups, they feel so much better. Like it's such more of a dopamine hit
yeah,
when you start to get things to click. Oh, dude, it's so cool. It's cool to see. You kind of figuring out in real time too, which might be a little stressful for you, but it's
yeah.
fun,
And I think like the extreme downs are like so often not actually real extreme downs. They're just like these extreme downs that we make up in our own heads of like projecting the future onto ourselves now instead of just like well, this happened. This is how it is. I'm gonna like take another step and like hopefully the world doesn't collapse or whatever. Like I think the extreme downs are like so often self-imposed extreme downs.
Yeah. Well, dude, you're an athlete. We're used to doing things at such a high level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That like it gets like you want perfection in it, and like it's never going to be perfection as much as we want it to be. You know, it's a tricky thing. I can speak so much the same to that, because you want something to be so perfect and so dialed, and yeah, getting it there is interesting. And then you're hard on yourself if it's not, you know, the way you want it to be, or as perfected as it want. But you'll also see it grow over time, which is cool. So yeah, it's cool, man. I honestly wish you the absolute best of luck in this endeavor. Like, this is such a cool thing to watch, like from the outside as you build it.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you think we hit everything with Terignōta? Because I want to start telling your story a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously will be more in the future, but yeah, I mean, I think that was a great introduction to Terignōta. So
yeah. And like I said, I'll put it in the show notes so people can toggle on over. Oh, one more question. It kind of started with socks. Yeah. And it's more of those, why stop there? You've got like pretty much a full kit now for the runner. What was the inspiration to just go like, let me do the full kit? Was that the idea from inception, or like, where did that one come from?
Yeah. I mean, it started with the socks. And while socks are an important piece of the kit, like they're not the most like fun or glamorous or visual, piece. And yeah, really, I just wanted to design more things. Like I'm constantly like thinking of the next thing I can design, whether it will ever come out in Terignōta or whatever. I like just love, thinking up ideas. And so like, I didn't want to just do a sock and be done and be like, oh, this is a sock. Like, whether or not I started Terignōta, like I wanted to like, oh, can I make some shorts? Oh, can I make like a nice shirt? Like I just like love experimenting with designing and building things and getting things made. And so yeah, I guess the answer to that question is just like, I didn't want to stop. And so I needed something else to do.
I love it. One last thing before we pivot to you. If you do any pieces of gear, can you please do like a sub ultra? Like, we need a sub ultra belt. Somebody needs to do it. But like for a
what do you mean? The shorts are a perfect sub ultra belt.
Yes, they do. No, they count. But like, I don't know. I haven't tried the shorts yet, so I'll be able to speak to it after I try them.
I think honestly, like I've never tried the raid belt. I know you had Kyle on, but
it's too big, too bulky for a sub ultra.
Yeah, but maybe like that would be like an ultra belt, and the shorts would be like the sub ultra belt or something.
I could see that. I like that idea. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. There's something like for the detachable, but the shorts do work too. And you can kind of fit the, something to where there's no bounce and kind of tie them tight.
Well, you just try them out. I'm going to
try them. I'm going to try them. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's pivot to you. You need very little introduction. I feel like you've been in the sport a long time. You are a great competitor. You've got a lot of accolades to your name. You've done a ton. I'm just curious to like kind of wind back the clock a little bit. I want to see like what your relationship with running is. Like, when did you do it from a young age, running cross country and track? Like what's your background in the sport?
Yeah, I ran, growing up, I played, all the sports in school. I went to a super small school. It was like, it was 100 and I don't know, 50 people at the time, K through 12. So super small school. So you had to play all the sports, or we wouldn't have enough people to play the sports. So I played soccer and basketball and ran track in high school. And yeah, I don't think I've ever given him credit for getting me into ultra running, but I think, my brother and I were, when we were little, we had a babysitter named Tim Dearden. And anyway, when we, got out of the needing a babysitting age, and, anyway, Tim Dearden like took us out on uh longer runs, like once a week or once every couple weeks, and like he was the first person who like took me around Matt Adams. And yeah, my brother and I would like always, mostly my brother, but my brother and I would always like just complain and like yeah, be like, what, like this is terrible, why are we doing this kind of thing. um I mean, but we always liked it obviously because we like chose to go. But yeah, Tim Dearden like got us running further on trails and like doing more, yeah, around the mountain kind of things. In, I don't know, middle school maybe, and in high school for sure. Um, and yeah, that's kind of like the very beginnings of it. And then in college, I didn't run track or cross country or anything in college, but I just like ran a lot for fun for me, and to explore places around where I was going to school in San Luis Obispo. Um, yeah. And also, and in college, I did my first ultra as well. My mom is a big ultra runner. She's done like a bazillion ultras, and I was like, well, my mom can run a 50K. Like, I think I can run a 50K too. So my first ultra I did, yeah, sometime my freshman year of college or something. And yeah, that's kind of where it started.
Dude, that's a cool story, man. It's interesting to hear how, I always love hearing how people got into the sport and what got them excited. It's crazy that in college you found it. Cause like, what are you? You're late 20s right now?
Yeah, I'm 29.
29. So it's been a few years since you've gotten into your first race. So you've been in the sport a while, dude. What was it like? Yeah. Cause I know you dabbled, you do both sub ultra and ultra last year. I'm trying to think of like where I want to go. Like, at what point in time did you get serious about it? Where you're like,
yeah,
this is pre-Solomon, like when you were like wanted to go get sponsored. Like,
yeah, I think that my running, my ultra career, quote unquote, has been in like two parts really. Cause like at the beginning when I was like, my first year in college, I did my first ultra when I was probably like 17 or 18. Though from there to like, I don't know, 22 or something, it was all about like, I had no ambitions of, I mean, obviously I like dreamt of like winning a race one day, but doing them, I was like, it was just more to finish the race, and like see if I could run 100 miles, just like see if it was even possible. So like my first life in ultra was just like finishing the race. And I like, did the typical 50K, 50 mile, 100K, 100 mile build growth. I haven't done 100 miles since then, but then it's hard. I can't remember the timeline exactly, but I think it was after college, or one of the summers late college, that I like learned about FKTs. And like, yeah, when I learned about FKTs, it was like the start of my second life in ultra, which was like trying to be more competitive and seeing what I could actually do, and like actually training for things. Yeah, so like my first foray into like competitive running was like trying to get the Mount Adams FKT, which Mount Adams is like, where Mount Adams is right next to Trout Lake, where I grew up and lived after college for a little while. So yeah, that was like my first time I was like really like wanted to be competitive at running, or like mountain. Not that you run up Mount Adams, but yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it's interesting the way like the dichotomy too, like the sections and stages of your career. I know this. I don't know if this is a sore subject or how you feel about it, because everybody has that time in their life, or like elite athletes will have that time in their life when they are sponsored or when they're not. And, you know, everybody kind of has these phases. What was it like for you? Because when you were with Salomon, like you did a lot of stuff. Like you went to, what did you destroyed the course record of Volcanic. You went and had a great race at Mount Marathon. Like what was that period of life like for you in your life? How was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was only a year that I was with Salomon. I ran in Salomon gear.
I don't know why I thought it was 2. My bad.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I ran in Salomon like my entire life just because I just like, you know, started running in Salomon's and I liked the shoe. So I was like, why would I switch? And I always thought Salomon made interesting shoes that worked for me. So I had run in Salomon forever, but yeah, I was sponsored by them for a year as an athlete, but just with I just got gear from them. I just got a gear stipend or whatever from them. I didn't get travel budget or I didn't get paid at all. And I thought like I accepted. I like thought that I was like worth more than a gear stipend or whatever. Like
You definitely are. Yeah.
when I signed the deal when I signed the contract for a year, and I was like, but you know what? Nobody really knows who I am. I got to like get my foot in the door and like, you know, make some relationships or whatever. And so I was like fine with that. And I thought it'd be like just like a good entry into the professional running world. And yeah, I thought I had a good year. I mean, yeah, I did those things you listed, and I got second at Puerto Vallarta 100K by UTMB, and yeah, I don't know. I did some FKTs, and yeah, I like thought I put together a pretty good year. And yeah, at the end of that year, like, I mean, I think this is like a very common thread with people trying to get sponsored or professional athletes now, that it's like communication with brands is like, and maybe some more than others, is like infuriating. And so like at the end of I don't know what that year was, 2022 or yeah. I was like trying to talk with Salomon about like, yeah, having another contract and like getting paid, and but like I couldn't even talk to them, like just couldn't even get in touch. And so like but I figured that I would like get another contract, so I like didn't pursue other brands or whatever. And like the end of the year rolls around, and the team manager at the time,
Staff, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It doesn't matter. She was like, she like offered me a contract for the next year, which was it was the same exact deal as like $5,000 of gear, 0 travel, 0 pay. But also like, instead of like being titled as an athlete, I would be titled as an ambassador, which I like just felt wrong and like terrible. So I was like, well, I guess not doing that. But it was like too late to do anything else. And I think really that year just like made me see the realities of like trying to become a professional trail runner. Like I think it's more of a pipe dream than a real thing. I mean, I know like maybe now, more people are making a bit more money. But I hope that's going in the right direction. But yeah, it really jaded my idea of like, or like dream of trying to become a professional trail runner. So yeah, it seemed, the year seemed, it was cool to like, I don't know, get an inside look, meet some cool people, but yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. I don't know. I think you weren't the only one that year. What was it? 22. You you weren't the only one affected by that where they moved people down. Like there was quite a few athletes that they did.
Yeah, they like really shrunk their athlete team.
And then this past year, there was like a full on purge. They got rid of like everybody. So yeah, I can't speak to what goes on internally there. I really have no idea, and I won't. I don't. There's no reason to say anything negatively there. It's just it is interesting to get the inside look and how different brands are different. But like the common thread here, I think the conversation is too is like you've had all these amazing finishes. You're a phenomenal athlete. Now you're building something, but like it doesn't. You're not defined in any way by whether or not you're with a brand or not. It's just and I think people get this misconception where it's like, oh well, if you're sponsored, it's a defining thing. No, it's just like a big help to be able to have the resources gear wise and travel wise to be able to go do the races and do the things you want to do. Right. Like that's the best.
Yeah. And I think like a big thing for me would have been just like, I wouldn't have had to been so stressed financially, like in the rest of my life. If I could have like not even made money from trail running, but just like not spent a ton of money on trail running. Yeah. So I think that would have been, just like a big help. But also I don't have any like, negative. Obviously, like at the time I was like kind of annoyed, with Solomon and the team manager, but like I totally understand it's like just a business. And like I personally was like, I don't even know what, like, I don't know if I sold any Solomon shoes, like, why would they pay me anyway? But yeah, I know it anyway. I know it's just like just a business, and like the team manager only has so many resources she can work with. So like, yeah, no hard feelings, but definitely left me with a little like weird taste for professional trail running.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think these conversations are very important to have. And the reason I say that is because like I get reached out to a lot by like whether it's friends of the podcast, and like a lot of younger folks ask me questions on like, well, advice for this and advice for that. And it's like, you have to be prepared to have those conversations because like, there's a lot of stories out there from people with far more experience, like you, who have far more experience than a lot of these young whippersnappers coming up, and can actually like be able to provide advice for athletes coming up in the space, right? Like things like that. I think those are good conversations to have, and they're healthy too. Like everybody thinks it's this darling thing, and in some cases it really is. Like it's a beautiful thing, but in some cases, like both sides of the story, I think, need to be told to understand it. Yeah, no, and everybody has their own journey. Now you can rock Terignōta at a race, and it's like,
exactly.
So it's different.
Now I can just be sponsored by myself.
Exactly, dude. I've thought long about that. Like, I want to start getting some like pod sponsored like racing gear, like to just rep that brand. I think it'd be kind of fun, as you kind of grow your own brand in the sport. So let's talk, not to do double negative here, but like let's talk Achilles.
Yeah, don't worry.
I know you had you're like the only trail runner I know that has torn an Achilles tendon, and you did it in a pretty nasty way. You were playing basketball, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Talk about that experience, dude. And like, cause you came back and like, you're still an amazing athlete. Like you didn't seem like you missed a step. I mean, you took fourth last year at what was it? The Y East Trail Fest 28K, which was pretty competitive. Like you're still, you didn't really slow down. Like you're able to come back at a solid level. So talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, like you say that, and thank you for saying that. But it does feel like I'm like it feels like I'm a different person than pre Achilles, which is, I don't know, maybe weird, but I mean, both, like, yeah, I feel fit right now, but just not at all in the same way I did before. Anyway, so I guess going back, like it was fall of 2023. I was signed up for CCC. And like, again, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to CCC. I'm going to like do super well, get sponsored, make it big, yada, yada, yada. And a couple weeks before CCC, I was up in like the North Cascades doing, a bunch of big days, some super just like fun adventuring. And there was a, Trout Lake Fair 3-on-3 basketball tournament that I was doing with my brother and another guy. So I like it was on Friday, and so I came back like 4 p.m. on Friday and got back to Trout Lake, and the basketball tournament was a few hours later. Yeah, so we did that. Played a ton of games, and then like one of the last games, I was just like not doing anything cool, just like driving to the hoop and like fell down and like thought somebody had tripped me. And like I like looked back at my brother and I was like, dude, who tripped me? And he's like, dude, you just fell down. And uh yeah, and I like immediately knew what it was. Like I reached like grabbed my ankle and like completely soft on the back of it.
Oh.
And just it didn't hurt. I mean, later it hurt, but at that point it didn't hurt. Um uh but just like this flood of, yeah, again, like projecting the future onto myself right then, like this flood of everything that this was going to entail to like ever run again was like devastating. Um, and I just like had my brother and another guy like walk me out of the court thingy without saying much, and got in the car and made it to the hospital somehow. I got a ride eventually, but yeah. And then fortunately, my uncle is a orthopedic surgeon. I think
Nice.
is that the right term? Knee surgeon. He's a knee surgeon and has done Achilles and does Achilles and stuff as well at the Stone Clinic in San Francisco. So, yeah, I flew down there a couple of days later and he stitched it back together. And stayed there for a couple of weeks doing, yeah, PT and stuff. Yeah, but I like got back on. I was like on a bike the day after surgery, not like an indoor stationary bike with one leg, not my Achilles leg, but like, yeah, just like immediately trying to do everything I could to, yeah, get back to running someday. Yeah, and like the I guess the thing like I would want to say about injury is like the Achilles injury was like it was bad, and yeah, I hope nobody ruptures their Achilles, but the thing that was the hardest for me was like after like the initial trauma of it, and after like being in this like intensive, like I stayed with my aunt and uncle in San Francisco for a couple weeks and like went to PT every day, and for, yeah, I think it was 2 weeks. And after being like this initial intensive recovery phase, like I still had, I don't know, 3 months where I couldn't walk. And like my life, and like also I couldn't work, like I was building tiny homes at the time. And so like, yeah, couldn't work, couldn't walk. Everything was really hard. Like making food was incredibly hard. And, but like I had passed that initial trauma stage where people are like worried about you, or like it's like in their minds still. Um, and so, yeah, I think the hardest part about injury is like this part after the initial phase where you still have like a ton of recovery to do, and you're not the person that you like were, or I mean, you're still a person you were want to be, but you're not like the physical person you were want to be, and like so limited for so long. But like it's so easy for everybody else to just like forget about it, and which is totally fair. Everybody has their own life going on. But like for me, the hardest part of recovery was like getting through this like long empty phase of where I like couldn't do anything. I like couldn't, I mean, I still like saw friends once in a while, but didn't see many people because like, yeah, the way I socialize most is like going out for a run or doing some activity. Um, so yeah, like that was for sure the hardest part of my Achilles injury was just like,
Mental health, man.
yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. Um, um, yeah, I don't really know where to go from there, but
Yeah, no, I'll take it from from you. Like I could imagine, and you can be as candid as you want with this one, but like just like the suffering, like I don't know. So first of all, like you're an athlete at an extremely high level. So there's the death of that and not knowing if you'll ever be the same again. That's the first thing. Then it's just the day to day, which has got to be horrible because you can't even, it's got to be a pain in the ass to even take a shower, let alone make lunch,
Yeah.
And then like you said, like you're kind of alone where, people stop checking in on you. It's kind of just, you can't work, you can't do this. Like, can you just be a little like, explain more on like what that does to your mental health? Like what were you doing to stay positive at that time?
Yeah, I mean, like the thing that like saved me kind of was this sounds really weird, but the thing that saved me was like Zwift.
Okay.
And just like being able to bike and like get or not like bike outside, but like being able even just like with one leg propped up on a chair and like get like this like energy, but also just like rage and anger like out at something, like having a release for that, which ended up being Zwift, um, uh, was like a was like a very, very essential thing for me. Um, yeah, but I think it like it's hard because I don't like blame anyone. I guess I should go back like for like 3 months. I just like you just like feel alone. You just like feel very, very alone, and like you might never uh you might never like re-enter this like community that you were in or this like life that you had, and there's like so much uncertainty there, and you like feel alone about you feel alone because you are alone. Like I was just like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
my I was like renting this little corner apartment in a barn. Um, and it was like, I don't know, a 16 by 16 foot space. And like, then I had my bike like set right outside the door. And like, that was my whole little world. And like, yeah, you just like, and I don't like blame anybody for like not checking in or like coming by and hanging out because I was like boring, like couldn't do anything. But I think the experience like did make, or I hope at least it made me more like empathetic to uh like the boring part of injuries, which are like usually the hardest part of injuries, and like hope that I and hopefully other people can just like keep supporting friends who like are in the boring part of injuries that are like so mentally difficult because like your life is just like thrown upside down, and but it's like not exciting or yeah yeah
No, dude, I appreciate you for being open about it and being candid because it's a difficult, obviously an extremely difficult period of time in your life, and to be on the other side of it now, those reflections, I think a lot of people can, it's uplifting. And I think a lot of people could take something away from that, especially those listening to this that, might be going through their own thing with injury and to know that like yours was relatively catastrophic from a Achilles perspective. And then to be on the other side of it and still compete, and be, you could be, who knows, you might be better than you were before, dude. I don't know.
we'll find out.
We'll talk about that. But I just think it's amazing that, to hear that story.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm curious about, because like you did come back, you're back now. And like I said, last season, 2024 was a really solid one for you. You did, pretty damn well at everything you touched. Obviously CCC was a little bit of a different conversation, but like, what at least on the sub ultra space I could speak for, you mentioned I'm not the same, or I don't feel the same.
Yeah.
Can you dig into that a little bit more, because like on paper you had a great result, or has some great results.
For sure. I like I mean, one like physically I'm like like very, very imbalanced still on my left leg, which is the one I tore my Achilles on. Like it sounds crazy, but I like can barely do a single-legged calf raise on my left leg still. Like I can get my heel off the ground like an inch. Um, and that's about it. And yeah, so like physically I still have a lot of work to do, and it's like I hope my calf muscle will come back someday. It's still yet to find out. Um, and I think more so it's like mentally I feel like it doesn't I just don't feel as like carefree or like loose when I'm running, especially like technical terrain. Like the thought of like jumping off something sounds crazy to me right now just because uh yeah, it like I used to play soccer and basketball a ton even after like I would after like in my adult life. Uh and like cutting on a field sounds crazy right now because it like just that motion and
I mean, I broke my ankle doing that, so I feel your pain.
yeah, like uh yeah, just like mentally I'm not as like loose, I guess. Uh so it and like I hope my fitness is there. And like I did have some okay results last year. I uh and I like feel fit. I still like it's just hard for me to like I guess it's more hard for me to just believe that my fitness is as good as it once was. Um yeah, and I like haven't proved that to myself that it is. So yeah, I think like it just will take me a long time to like accept that I am fit again and like can compete at a high level again. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the hardest part is just like letting yourself believe that you're like back.
But do you think, I don't know if you've thought deeply into this, but like, at what point do you think you'll be convinced? What do you got
Yeah,
to
I
do to
don't know.
convince yourself?
No, it's hard to say. Like,
That's a difficult one, right?
if I like do something I have never done before, or like one of the things I was thinking about is like I should try, I should like go for a I don't know, an FKT that I have done before or something and like see where I stack up or like do a race I've done before and like see how I am. But it's also like so I mean, it's just so difficult to compare year to year and times to time. But um yeah, I'm also like nervous to like go after an FKT I've done before because like what if I'm not? You know, what if I like am like way slower? I'm like gonna be like really sad about it. Yeah.
It's a hard thought, man. Yeah, you know, Joe Gray always says the same thing about looking the man in the mirror, and it's a terrifying thought to me. Like you got to
Yeah.
look the man in the mirror and sometimes prove him wrong, and it's like, woof, you know, and it's like that prove yourself something, you know, and it's like, hey, what happens if you're not as fast? Like, dude, you still compete at a great level. Like whether you beat yourself or you know, or you go beat others. Like at the end of the day, like one of the things I can say, because I've stood on a start line with you before at, I think it was Broken Arrow Iron Face back in the day. And that was a little more of an intimate race because it was me, you, and Adrian Ballinger. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
And like we bumped fists, but dude, you were so focused. I remember seeing you on the start line and like you were just like innately focused on the task ahead. Whereas like, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't as focused. I don't know. But I just remember that one thing about you is like you were very focused, very seemed like I don't know, just very focused. I think that's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but like,
Well, I think like the focus is like the thing that makes me the most nervous about like trying something I've tried before is like because I do want to be better than myself. Like uh whether or not like I can go do well at a competition, if I like know that before I could I could have done better or whatever, like that's a hard thing to like be fine with and like know that like hopefully I will still be improving in my fitness like for a long, long time. But yeah, I think that the thing that scares me the most is not like it doesn't matter if I like can't if I like beat or don't beat these other people if I like am not improving in myself like that's yeah tough.
Interesting. Yeah. No, it is. It is. Let's move on to competition,
Yeah.
because I know you are on the start line for Gorge Waterfalls coming up in just like a month and a half, 2 months, maybe
Yeah.
a little less than that. Are you excited? Like, do you find more balance in your training now that you've got the business? Like, does that help you kind of shift gears every now and then?
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say balance is a great word for it, but it definitely makes me more appreciative of the time that I can like get out and train and like yeah, I went for like a 3 hour run on Saturday, and it was like the first time I had like not stared at a computer screen in like a long time and like been out of this little room in a long time. And I was just like so psyched to get out. I mean, it was like muddy, raining weather, but I was like so happy just to be out running and training. And so it like definitely has made like, and don't get me wrong, I love doing this business, but it like has made the time that I do get to put towards running and training like so enjoyable and just like feels like a vacation like a it feels very nice and yeah, regarding Gorge Waterfalls itself, like uh I'm excited to race. I don't know if I'm excited to race Gorge Waterfalls. I like haven't had a great. I've done the 100K once and the 50K once, and neither of them have went. Well, the 50K was fine, but it was my first race back from Achilles. Um, but the last time I raced the 100K, it was pretty bad, personally. So we'll see. Yeah, I actually have a race coming up the second weekend of March, which is the Mid-South double in Oklahoma.
Okay.
50K on Friday and then a 100-mile bike ride on Saturday. And I'm like pretty psyched about that. Not like, yeah, I want to try super hard and like do my best, but more just like excited for the experience of it. And yeah, I haven't ridden my bike in a while, so excited for that.
Dude, that's sick. I
Yeah.
especially like, I can like speak for just the thrill of being able to do a double like that, a 50K, a hard 50K, and then go smash yourself on the bike the day after. That's dope.
Yeah.
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 That's cool. I wish there was more events like that. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah. Oklahoma.
All right. Hopefully it's warm too. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. I've been looking at the weather. You know, we'll see.
Nice. I saw you were on the start list for Cirque Series Crystal.
Yeah, I thought that would be fun.
Oh,
I don't
dude,
know. It's
I
like
hope to see you
first the first Cirque Series race in maybe in Washington.
there. Yeah, it is.
And it's like the first year. So that'd be yeah, fun. The Cirque Series races have always like intrigued me, but yeah, I've never felt like going to Colorado or whatever for a 5K or 10K or whatever they are. So it seems super, yeah, cool to check it out.
Dude, I'm excited to stand on a start line with you again. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
course looks very compelling. I've never been to Crystal. I haven't really run in Washington that much, so it'll be fun to get up there and see what it's all about. Yeah, a little September race. What else do you have on the calendar, or what are you thinking about other than those races?
The thing that's like getting me the most excited right now is like summer long days out exploring the mountains. Like not, I mean, yeah, I hope to do some cool FKTs and like long link ups and whatnot this summer. Like I just moved to Leavenworth in October, so I haven't, yeah, and I moved here to enjoy the mountains. And I mean, I can enjoy the mountains too, also in winter, but I haven't really this winter. So I'm like really psyched to, yeah, get out and do just long days and explore in the mountains. And I'm also just like psyched for training. It's been feeling good and made it's like helping my mental state. So that's been nice. Yeah, there's not a ton of like races that I am really passionate about at the moment, but I am still passionate about like trying hard physically, and I want to like put that effort into things that mean a lot to me, like yeah, whether it's like a mountain FKT or like a cool new link up or whatever. But yeah.
No, I like that. And I think it's a good answer, dude. One of the things I find like as like with having the podcast and also racing and then having a job, like just being busy is like you have to be very deliberate in what you do select a race. You can't just pick 10 or 15 things and say, I'm going to go do all this and that. Whereas like you wait for the fitness to see where it's at. And then it's like, all right, let me hop into this and, you know, see where that's at. Or, you know, you plan maybe like a few things and fit that in. And yeah, you have to almost be like more deliberate with it, which I find produces better results.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, listen, dude, we're well over an hour now. I really appreciate you coming on. I want to get into some ending questions.
Yeah.
And I'd love to start with who inspires you.
That's a good question. I think there's so many people there are so many people who inspire me, like, and so many people who inspire me in ways that are not like these grandiose things, but just like how they live their life in the little minutia of life, or how they approach life. Should have been more prepared with this question, but off the top of my head, I'm gonna say that this is maybe unexpected for people who know me, but I'm gonna say my brother inspires me. And definitely he doesn't inspire me in every aspect of his life, but I think his like ability to like commit to like whatever, just like commit to his life and like pursue that fully. And his like commitment to community, and his like ability to like we all when I was living in Trout Lake, like he would always be the one to like initiate I don't know, game nights, or like have people over for dinner or whatever. And like I don't know why that inspires me, but it's like I like it's a his commitment to his life and his like commitment to the community is inspiring to me, and something I like want to aspire to bring more into my own life. So yeah, my brother at this exact moment is the one who's inspiring me.
It's a good answer, man. All right, so you're on a start line. You're getting ready to go race. What's the song you're listening to pre-race?
I don't know if I have one particular song. I think my like pump up songs are kind of weird for pump up songs, because they're all
I've heard some. Well,
they're just like
shit.
very mellow. Like Tom Rosenthal will for sure be like, if I just put Tom Rosenthal on, like he has like 10,000 songs out, and if I just put him on shuffle, like I just get like happy and psyched. So anytime I'm like running and I just need to like check out for a little while and get in a better mood, I just put Tom Rosenthal on shuffle, and like I feel better. So I'm just gonna say literally any one of Tom Rosenthal's songs.
I like that. Tom Rosenthal. I don't think I've ever listened to Tom Rosenthal.
Put him on, and you're gonna feel better about yourself.
I like it. As soon as we get off this call, I'm putting him on. All right. So I usually ask a goofy question at the end, something around Bigfoot, aliens, or AI. Because you're a Pacific Northwest guy, I gotta ask you the Bigfoot question.
All right.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Do I believe in Bigfoot? No, but I do like the idea of Bigfoot, and I like the idea of there being more things out there. And I also just like the idea of like, going and walking around the woods, and like maybe you will find Bigfoot, because you never know till you know. And like, I don't know. So do I think Bigfoot exists? No, but I'm stoked to keep the myth alive.
I love it. I mean, dude, the PNW is a big place. Like, you never know. Big woods.
Yeah, you never know. And that's a great thing about it, is like, we will never know. And yeah, there's no way to prove it either way. So keep on walking around the woods and looking.
There you go. Dude, how do you like before we go, I am curious to see how you like living in Leavenworth, because that's a cool spot.
Yeah. I think it's a hard question to answer like right this moment, because it's been pretty dreary the last while, and I have not been able to explore and like get out in the things that make Leavenworth so great. But I think the town itself is kind of weird with the Bavarian theme. But I love the community that has like been super welcoming and accepting and like homey to me here. And I'm like so stoked to have some warm sunny days to go explore the surrounding areas. So while like the last couple months haven't been, I mean, I could have been anywhere the last couple months, it probably wouldn't have mattered, but I'm hyped to be here in Leavenworth. And
is there like a solid trail running community there, like a lot of runners? Or
there's not a huge trail running community, but there's a huge outdoor community, like skiers, climbers, people who run, but I don't think they would call themselves trail runners. I think there's a good trail running community in Wenatchee, which is like 30 minutes away. So there's like a huge outdoor community, but I wouldn't say like a huge trail running community specifically. But that's kind of the vibe that I like anyway. Like I like the more technical climb ski aspect of trail running, which
that's cool. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. It was a great conversation. Dude, I am so excited for where you're going to take Terignōta. Like I hope this is one of the fastest growing brands in the sport in the next year or so. It'd be sweet to see. And we'll definitely keep in touch. And anytime you want to come on and tell a story, the microphone's yours. So
that sounds great. Thanks so much for having me on. It was super fun.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think? Oh man, what a great episode. I really want to thank Alex so much for coming on the podcast, not only to just help tell his story, but to help tell the story of Terignōta and why it just serves such an important place in the market, in my opinion. Just offering a simple yet significant, no thrills, simple kit from head to toe, high quality products. And the most important thing is it's cheap. It's affordable. You don't have to remortgage your house to get them, which I just really enjoy. So I definitely want to wish Alex the absolute best of luck on his venture with this. Guys, before we get going, we're going to hop on Instagram. Let's get some followers for Alex first. You can find him at Alex King Runs on Instagram. That's his handle. And then secondary, follow Terignōta. You can hop on, you can find Terignōta by just typing in Terignōta. Their hashtag there is Explore Your Unknown. You can find them at terignota.com. I know Alex was pretty candid and open about when he's got his next drops coming for gear or for merch. So you guys will be able to get them within the next month or so, I believe is what he said, for the shorts as well. I think the shirts are still in stock, some of them. And he's got some socks as well and all kinds of good stuff. So hop on their website, yikes, and throw in an order, send them some support. Guys, where else are you going to find such a high quality shirts and shorts for like 20 something bucks? Like I'm on the website now. The shirt is $22 and the shorts are $29 for the men's and women's. Like it doesn't get much. The hat is $19. Like these are high quality products at such an affordable price. Like why not support this brand? So like I said, I want to wish Alex the best. Super exciting venture that he's got going on. We'll probably have him back on in the next year, a couple of months to share his story as the brand continues to grow and just kind of takes over, which we're excited to follow. So guys, thanks for this episode. Thanks for following along. If you enjoyed this one, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And this episode's brought to you by Ultimate Direction USA. Next time you guys are interested in picking up a belt or a vest or a handheld flask, use code SteepStuffPod for 25% off your cart. Thanks so much.